Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, it's a Victory Monday. Are you kidding me? Why does it not feel like a Victory Monday? Why does it not feel like your Buccaneers are 3 times NFC South champions? Why is this just the weirdest celebration of all time? It's bizarre. And it's because you just watched a horrible, horrible football game. And I had to watch it twice. And I'll probably watch it 3 times just to really get nauseous. Good morning and welcome to the JP Peterson Show. I think I just encapsulated the way all Bucs fans are feeling, Nick Geddes. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy to be here. I mean, you were
Did
saying,
I not?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about how, like, we don't know how to. It doesn't feel like a Victory Monday that the Bucs have won their 3rd division in a row, and I think it's because for the Bucs fans such as myself, this is a first. Winning the division 3 years in a row, you're darn right. I don't know what it feels like. And we've kind of gotten just used to the feeling, and that's a good thing. Listen, I mean, we'll dive into the game, but your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are NFC South Division champions for the 3rd year in a row.
Yes, they are.
And they're the only team. They're the only team in the NFC. It ain't the 49ers. It ain't the Cowboys, and it ain't the Eagles, and we'll get to them later, too.
Yeah.
Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the only team in the NFC to make the playoffs 4 years in a row.
Only 2 teams in the NFL.
Only 2 teams in the
The
NFL.
Chiefs,
The other ones,
Mahomes, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, and we did it with Baker freaking Mayfield.
Yeah, we did.
There we go.
We did. Is that a testament to what the Bucs have done, or is that a testament to how bad the NFC South is?
It's a little bit of both.
It's a lot of both. It's a lot of both. And that's why I'm in this conundrum here today, because I want to come on here and give out some accolades to some players that really deserve it. The Bucs defense certainly does. They shut out the Panthers yesterday, thanks to an amazing play by Antoine Winfield Jr., a very stupid play by DJ Chark, a stupider play by Jamel Dean, twice on the play. And a stupid play by, I think it was Chark who had the illegal formation on a play where Blackshear runs into the end zone. I saw 2 Panthers in the end zone yesterday. I saw no Buccaneers, none. Baker Mayfield was awful yesterday. Should have had 3 picks. The offensive line was awful yesterday, dominated by the Panthers. Awful. I mean, all these things I'm saying are true. Here's another thing. They're NFC South champions 3 times in a row.
Did they win the game, though?
They won the game.
Did they win the game? Tell me, JP, what's the objective of playing sports?
To win the game.
Thank you.
And they won the game.
And remember, we've talked so much about beauty contests and the other type of football.
Right.
I mean, we can't be picky and choosy now, can we?
No, we cannot.
9-0 gets the job done.
You're 100% right. And when you go out and you know your quarterback is injured, you know he's limited, and you play that type of football game, you just need to get the dub. And that's what they did. And you deserve credit for that. But we cannot be completely ignorant of what's happening out on the field. And you ride this as long as you can. Now, and here come the Eagles. You know, Sal Paolantonio will join us on Thursday, by the way. He said, and I quote, "This, given the circumstances, this is the worst performance I've ever seen from the Philadelphia Eagles in my 31 years of covering this team." So when you think the Bucs are horrible, here come the Eagles, who have lost 5 of their last 6, and in Sal Paolantonio's very learned opinion, played their worst game that he's seen in 31 years.
And they're burning Nick Sirianni at the stake this morning on Philly radio, as I understand.
As they should. Hey, but they're in the playoffs. Hey, 2nd year in a row. Went to the Super Bowl last year. Damn near won it. Why isn't everybody happy? Why isn't anybody farting?
Hold on. To be fair, the situations aren't the same. The Eagles have lost 5 out of 6. Last time I checked, the Bucs have won 5 out of 6, and that's exactly what they needed to do to make the playoffs after a 4-7 start. So,
yeah, mm-hmm.
You could.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, we could at this point, JP, we could get so fed up at the performances and this and that. And listen, two things are true. If they play like this against a different team next week, potentially, even though Philly's not playing their best, if the Bucs play like they just did, if the offense, which has scored like 2 touchdowns in 8 quarters, is like that, okay, well, they're going to be in and out in the postseason. That is true. But for the fact that they won 5 of 6, regardless of what the performance looked like in some of those games, it really was great in 2, and that was the Green Bay game and the Jacksonville game, right?
Yep.
Where they showed everybody what they could be, right?
Yes.
But they're too inconsistent. They're an average football team that's in the postseason. All these things are true, but at the end of the day, they got the job done, and now when you go into the postseason, that all just gets washed away. That's the beautiful thing about it. It all gets washed away, and you're 0-0, and you go play, and you got it at home.
We are so blessed to have you on this show today, Nick, to add some balance and perspective to my, and maybe it's just because it's a little bit fresher and I just got done watching the game again. And
listen, the performance wasn't great, but you were judged in this sport. Wasn't really good, but you're judged in this sport by if you win the game at the end of the day, and they did that.
But you beat a 2-14 team who has all but given up. And literally given up offensively, like won't even try to score, won't throw the ball down the field, can't throw the ball down the field. And still imagine, like on the DJ Chark play, first of all, once again, they let Bryce Young get outside. And Jamel Dean, my man, from a football IQ standpoint, bro, I don't know where you're at. I just don't know where you're at. You have DJ Chark man to man in this situation. Basically, they're probably playing some type of zone. It looked like, but that's your guy. He's in your area, and Bryce Young gets out of. There's 2 defenders in front of you. Okay, so you don't need to come up and tackle Bryce Young. There's 2 of your defenders are in front of you, and he's still 20 yards away from you, and you just stop playing, like you lose sight of your guy, and he runs behind you. Wide open? Like, how do you let that happen? Like, this is basic. You're just standing there with your D in your hand. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're just sitting there watching Bryce Young while your guy runs behind you. Pitch and catch over the top. And then after Antoine Winfield makes this brilliant play, it changes the season once again. First player with 100+ tackles, 5 forced fumbles, 5 sacks since 2000. First defensive player. And he's not in the Pro Bowl.
He'll get the All-Pro. He'll get the All-Pro.
He'll get the I hope to God he gets the All-Pro. My God. And then Jamel Dean picks up the ball 9 yards deep in the end zone and starts running with it and gets tackled. Now, I maybe I don't know the rules, but I think if you take like 8 steps and you're trying to avoid a defender in the end zone and he tackles you, that's a safety. Now, it probably because they called it a touchdown, and at that point it's a dead ball, so it's the only thing that can be done is a clear recovery. So I think once he touches the ball, it's a dead ball by the ridiculous replay, right? So I think that's what nullifies the fact that he's such a dumbass that he's trying to run the ball out of the end zone and gets cut and gets tackled for safety. I mean, I don't know how you can play NFL football and be that bad. But anyway.
March this morning on this Bucs team.
Yes,
they won the game.
Yes, I am. I know.
They won the game.
We're gonna have some balance on here. You're gonna tell me how much they won the game. I'm gonna tell you how bad.
Well, listen. Can I just tell you where it's coming from? Can I tell you where it's coming from? And this goes back to beginning of the year, right? Whenever Baker Mayfield was signed, and we were doing this as a show. Everybody was picking the Bucs to win what? 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games at best, correct? We did their over-under on wins. Remember that? And it was like, what, 5.5? The only 2 teams worse were, I think, the Colts and the Cardinals. Like, you're on board with me, right?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, $4 million. And eating the Tom Brady cap and all this stuff. And we were saying all that time, the Bucs got too much talent on this roster to be that bad of a football team. They're going to surprise people. And what were some of the win totals that we were pointing out?
I mean, I always thought this team had a chance to win 8, 9, 10 games. I said that from the
Okay,
beginning.
and they finished with 9 wins. So here's the thing. It didn't go the way necessarily we thought it would. The performances week in and week out were very inconsistent, and there were some downright bad ones. But at the end of the day, they got to the benchmark that we thought they could be. And I'm at the point where, regardless of what happens next week in the playoff game, to me, the season has already been proven to be successful because they overachieved in the eyes of many, and they hit the benchmark that we called out for them 6-7 months ago.
Yeah,
it's just the performances necessarily haven't lined up. But listen, the Steelers haven't played good football all year long, but they got to 10 wins, and they're playing in the postseason next week. Sometimes it really doesn't matter.
I guess, yeah, you're absolutely 100% right on all of that. And this is why I'm so conflicted. Like, I want to come on here and be positive about the Bucs and what they've accomplished and what they've done. But when you watch the football, you're just like, this is so bad. It's so bad. So, I mean, you can't ignore that, can you? And I think it goes back
because I just told you they're a playoff team by product of the fact of the division they play in. Okay, right. That's true. And that's why I'm saying, like, they're not a good football team. Like, not every team that makes the playoffs is a good football team. They're average. So relative to some of the great teams in this league, the high end, the Bucs are nowhere near those. And when we saw them play those teams this year, we saw that. Whether it be 49ers, whether it be the Lions, whether it be the better version of the Eagles, the Bills, they weren't close to those teams. They're not there. But nobody expected them to be there, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah. They're kind of right around where they are, and they stole some wins against some teams that we didn't think they would. And here they are at 9-8. I think it's because you have to honestly just evaluate where they are in the league and not get caught up on what the other teams are doing.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I believe, and I've mentioned this stat before, with teams with over $60 million in dead cap money, I think the most wins we've ever had in the NFL is like 4. So they did a hell of a job with that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different metrics you can look at and say this is a successful season. But when you look at you look at the picture, when you look at the painting, it's just like, man, that's ugly. It's ugly.
It was a weird season. It really was.
I mean, you accomplished the job. You did what you said you were supposed to do and you set out to do, but it's just so ugly. And I think this goes back to what Tom Brady said on his podcast this year. There's a lot of bad football out there. There's a lot of bad football out there right now. I think the NFL product is as bad as I've ever seen it. Like, the Panthers literally can't complete a pass 20 yards down the field. Like, you're a professional football team, and you can't complete because your offensive line can't give you the time. Your receivers get zero separation, and your quarterback can't see over the line in the pocket. I mean, they literally cannot complete a 20-yard pass. Their offense is so bad. But even they were able to run successfully on the Buccaneers because Devin White is so bad. And can we just say this? Jonathan Vilma, are you getting a cut of are you part of the do you have the same agent as Devin White? I don't get this. I mean, his soliloquy on Devin White being one of the best linebackers in football, like equal to Patrick Queen. Like, because he made one play in the game when Chuba Hubbard went the wrong way and nobody blocked him. Literally nobody blocked Devin White. Chuba Hubbard went the wrong way. Blocking was to the right. He moves to the left. And Devin White makes the tackle, and it was a key third down. I'll give him that. And suddenly, Devin White is the greatest line. But he ignores the rest of the plays where he was blocked easily, taking himself out of play. And on the Blackshear play, where he scores, folks, wait till you see the all 22 of this. First of all, he dives inside where he shouldn't be. He's loafing the whole way. By the way, he looks completely out of shape. His hands are on his knees, and then he runs half-heartedly into a pile of players. And then Blackshear comes out the other end. So the play's extended when he thought he was going to get tackled, and Devin White finds himself loafing again. And he's 2 steps behind him when he could have tackled him at about the 11-yard line if he was actually hustling. It's a ridiculous loaf. So bad. And if you watch the rest of the tape, he did nothing all day except get blocked. Most of the big Chuba Hubbard runs were run in his gap. And when Levante David had to come out for injury, they were running at about a 14-yard clip because he was the only linebacker that was in there. Why you don't put KJ Britt in there when you know they're going to run the football, I don't know. But he was horrible. And Jonathan Vilma continues to tell me, I don't know. I don't think Jonathan Vilma does any, and I mean any.
Well, it's become customary that Devin White's or Levante David, again, is the one that's out there near the ball and making plays. And I barely hear the broadcast say his name. And then the second Devin makes a play, it was, man, he's just one of the fastest linebackers in the league. And the Patrick Queen comment, I completely just rolled my eyes at on the broadcast. But it is what it is. I was going to tell you this, just speaking to, evaluating yesterday in the season. And by the way, a lot of people are pointing out, and this is true, the Panthers defense, for the injuries they've had, that was the number 4 defense in the NFL. We associate.
Weren't they number 4 in yards against and 31st in points against? Some ridiculous disparity.
Yeah, they were 29th in points, but for yards, they were one of the hardest teams to move against.
That just means your offense is terrible and it's turning it over. But so it kind of, it's a little weird. I don't think I've ever seen a disparity that big.
Right. But I was going to say, though, because Baker Mayfield's play, let's just get it out of the way. Baker was bad yesterday. And I thought at first some of it had to do with the injury. But I thought as it went on, I just think he was just wildly inaccurate. I don't know. I just kind of summed it up that way. It was just one of those Baker games. I'm sure the injuries didn't help by any means.
Making a lot of bad decisions, Nick. He made a lot of bad decisions.
It looked like he was pressing a little bit and
staring at the rush because Derek Brown was running through everyone. That dude is a man, and there's nobody on and Robert Hainsey.
He's unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, and Robert Hainsey is just so undersized.
Yeah.
He gives us a great effort. Made a great fumble recovery, which again,
that was
Trey
his best
Palmer
contribution
laid the
of
ball
the
on
year.
the ground. Yeah, it was huge. It really was huge. But he's always hustling downfield, and I love that about it. But he is bad. And Cody Mount getting destroyed, by blitzing linebackers. Both of those guys were just
they got bullied. They got bullied a bit by the Panthers D line, and that's going to be a concern next week.
And that was affecting Baker, but still, the Keon was it Deion Jones just drops what's probably a pick six.
But we talk about that all the time. Every quarterback has those, and Baker's had those throughout the season. Listen, they played a bad football team, and bad teams don't make those plays, and that's part of it. They got their breaks. The Bucs also had a bad one too, where Carlton Davis. Again, this is my big problem with Carlton is if you're really the number 1 corner on this team and you think you're that guy,
should have 2 plays.
I'm sorry, he should have walked into the end zone yesterday. Yeah, and I know people are saying, "Oh, it was a little bit out of your reach." No, I see really good corners make that play, and
they adjust.
Carlton never makes that
earlier. Yeah, they adjust earlier to get in position to make the play. He's surprised that the ball is coming at him. It seems every time.
Yeah.
And he's not ready to make. It's he's not proactively ready to make a play. He doesn't see opportunities where I'm going to jump this, and because I know it's coming this way. You never see him do that.
Yeah.
He had 2 great opportunities.
Right. He should have had 2. One should have walked in. But going back to Baker, what I love though about Baker though is you see it he's clearly compromised. Every time he was walking off the field, he was walking literally. He could not run. So the mobility was gone. But later in the game, as we've seen Baker do, that play was so important in that fourth quarter. I think it was 3rd and 5.
3rd and 5.
And he scrambles out to his right and takes off. And
great block by Rashad White.
Great block by Rashad. You would have never known that this guy was ailing. And
that was all guts and
it's just
glue.
Guts. And that's the guy you want leading your football team. It's even when he's not playing his best, and this is what we keep saying about him, he knows he's not playing his best. He's very accountable to himself, by the way, which I love.
Yeah.
He still finds a way to contribute in some way, and I think the guys feed off of that. And it's just enough that you needed yesterday, I thought.
The first drive, two balls that should have been picked. Second drive, he has Evans wide open deep. Doesn't throw it. He throws it inside the numbers instead of outside where the ball needs to go. Safety comes over. That would have been a touchdown. Why they continued to go at J.C. Horn, I have no idea. They were
throwing to Trey Palmer on J.C.
Horn. What are you doing? Why? Pre-snap read, I'm going to go to Trey Palmer to beat J.C. Horn? What are we? And by the way, Godwin is wide open on that play.
Canales had a rough one yesterday.
He had a rough, and Baker Mayfield did too. I mean, I counted there were 4 different actually plays because Trey Palmer in the second and third quarter on the one they threw short to Godwin, I believe it is open, wide open, running by his guy for a touchdown. Twice they missed Trey Palmer, and you're not going to see every guy coming open. That's just not, you can't do that as a quarterback. It's easy to look at this, but when you see it constantly, guys that they were bad reads, he was staring down certain situations and didn't come. It was a bad day for Baker Mayfield. Bad decisions, inaccurate. They were lucky to survive. And that's the bottom line is I know you want to change the narrative because they won, or I'm going to change the narrative. It's probably more accurate. I want to change the narrative because they played like crap these last 2 games when they needed it the most. When they needed it the most to play their best football, they played like crap on last week, especially on both sides of the ball. The defense, they shut them out. They got a big turnover. JTS gets a big turnover, but that's, the play before they're in the end zone. They literally ran the ball down your throat the entire way. And the only thing that saved you was a stupid wide receiver who didn't line up on the line. It didn't affect the play whatsoever. And Blackshear's running 27 or whatever it was, 30 yards into the end zone. And I would have made it 9-7 in a much different ball game. The DJ, I mean. But
it didn't happen, though. That's the thing. Like we could play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game for so many scenarios. But at the bottom line, those plays that you're talking about of should, they didn't happen because the Panthers are a bad football team.
Yeah. So
they don't make those plays.
A really bad football team. I guess you do.
Yesterday, you do get credit because all you needed to do was win the game, regardless of what the score was. They could have won it 3-0 for all I care. They're in the playoffs. Like that's what I'm saying. Like given the expectations of the season and everything that was against them, and there were a lot of things against them going into this season. Let's be fair on that. The fact that they are standing here, NFC South being bad or not, there were other teams in the division. I mean. You think Atlanta doesn't have as much talent as the Bucs do? You think the Saints, going for it this year with all their veterans and everything and all their high-priced free agents? No, of all the teams to do it, it was the Bucs. And allow me to give a shout-out to the real MVP of this operation, and that's Jason Licht. Because if you evaluate his moves, obviously Baker Mayfield, $4 million, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks, 4,000 yards. You think you would have signed up for that at the beginning of the year from Baker Mayfield? Hell yeah. And then I'm going to start with kicker. Chase McLaughlin was your MVP yesterday, and he's been one of your quiet MVPs all year. You talk about stability at the kicker position and nailing with ease, 50-yard bombs, 57 yesterday, by the way. Fantastic signing, got him for nothing. And then the acquisitions in the draft. Yaya Diaby, he was everywhere yesterday. Elijah Cansey's been great. Yep. Cody Mauch is coming along. He's still going through his ups and downs, but I think he's shown some good things. It's been all over this roster this year that Jason Licht, with not much to work with, I think deserves a lot of credit for this.
No, and then we talk about the dead cap money to get some of these. Izzy, and I think has played really well for an undrafted.
I just saw agent. Josh Hayes. Josh Hayes of all people leads the league in special teams tackles.
No. I don't know what the hell's going on with Camarda. He damn near whiffed one yesterday.
He almost whiffed, but then
he almost whiffed it. That ball got about 10 yards off the ground.
But then he hits like a 75-yarder like 2 punts later.
Like last week, he was terrible. Last week, too.
Yeah, I thought he was hurt or something.
Shankopotamus. Yeah. God, he's got a case of the Shankopotamus. Then he damn near missed one. It was windy yesterday, so sometimes you get a gust of wind on your drop and but wow. But he's been great. Camarda's been great for the most part. And by the way, the 57-yard field by McLaughlin, could we have handled the end of that half any worse?
Oh, I hate the way this is one of my biggest criticisms.
They were lucky to get, if Godwin catches that ball, it gets tipped away, the half's over. You don't even get a chance. Not to mention the lack of timeouts on defense.
Oh, no. For me, it was the run with like 20 seconds left. They called
doing?
a run, and I think Edmonds lost 7 yards. And
7 yards. Yes. And you had to use a timeout. Yeah,
they're not
brutal clock management.
They're very fortunate that they have Chase McLaughlin because they've done that multiple times this year, and Chase has bailed them out
every time
and gotten them 3. But yeah, that's one of my bigger criticisms of the staff is before the half they're a mess. They're
Terrible.
always a mess.
They're just terrible. At the end of games before the half.
Well, I will not say end of games, actually, because this is actually one of my main takeaways from this game and some others this year, and it kind of has to do with the run game. The run game will suck for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
But, man, on that final drive where the Bucs are just looking to nail it down and go home,
they bullied them.
The run game comes alive.
Yeah. Was
all
Derek
of a sudden.
Brown in there? Was he in there? Was he still in there at that point?
Who?
Derek Brown.
He never comes off the field.
You can't run. Well, the Bucs, I don't know why the Bucs ever tried to run up the middle, like at any point during the game, but they kept trying it. They kept trying it.
And this happens a lot though, but when they get the lead, it's like late in the game and they got to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do bully people, and Rashad starts to hit the holes more, and they push and all that, and they keep picking up first downs and they eat up the clock. So,
and I know
it's interesting.
It's true. And I know that everybody wants the answers to 2 questions. We got a lot of people watching this morning. I appreciate you guys jumping on with us. I'm going to get to all your comments here before we get to some of the sound. And by the way, we got some guests coming up for you today. Matt Matera is going to join us at 11:15. Cory Long is going to join us at 10:30 to talk Bucs and preview tonight's national championship game. And Greg Auman is going to join us at 11:45 from Fox Sports, who covers the NFC South. So I told him I can't wait for his book on the NFC South, historically worst division.
What a year he's had covering all these teams.
Oh my God, poor guy. He needs to serve some hazard pay. Is Todd Bowles safe? Yesterday, everybody was asking, is Todd Bowles safe? Is Baker Mayfield due an extension? It's like the way I feel about this game. I just don't know. Baker has been so money in clutch time. Like that run yesterday was just clutch. And he's, the throw to Godwin in the Atlanta game. We could go over and over. And he is the reason we have won almost every game that we've won. With clutch plays, he could play terrible all game long. But when the game is on the line, the dude knows how to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay for that. And he's going to get better in terms of the offense and the progressions. So my gut feeling is, because you don't know what the alternative is. What's your alternative? Who are you going to get in the draft picking at 19?
You could get worse.
20? You could get way worse. And who are you going to get in free agency? There's nobody better in free agency. Kirk Cousins is no better than Baker Mayfield. I mean, maybe a little bit. But he's older.
8 years older.
Yeah, he's also
coming off an injury.
Right, coming off an injury. It's just it's a no thing.
I think it's a no-brainer that you bring Baker back, and for the reasons that you said, yes. But just that guy, the fact that he stepped into this locker room, which was missing its head leader in Tom Brady, right? And you're like, how are you going to replace that guy? How are you going to replace that guy? I mean, hasn't it felt like it's kind of been seamless? Like it was Baker's team in March when he signed. It felt that way. And
I think he elevated the team.
Even during
I will sit here.
He elevated the team, and we're not having question marks about the Bucs culture or anything because of the way they finished. I mean, and then Todd Bowles gets credit for this too, and that's why I think both have to stay. Is that at 4-7 they could have dipped. They could have said, you know what I mean? And people could have said, all right, you know what? Todd is clearly a dead man walking. We all thought that way, by the way. We got to eat crow. We got to eat crow. This whole market's got to eat crow because I don't think anybody had them winning 5 of their last 6. But it happened. And that's the part where I think Todd Bowles, regardless of what happens, I think for now, the Glazers are going to be okay with winning the division at 9 games. I don't know how long that's going to continue because let me remind you, it's the same ownership group that fired Tony Dungy for doing the same exact thing, and he was actually winning playoff games. He just couldn't get them over the hump, and they still let Tony Dungy go.
Well, but Tony Bowles had 7 years, 6 or 7 years.
Right, he had more tenure. That's what I'm saying, is that for right now, I think Todd Bowles is safe to do this. But if we go like 3 years, 4 years in, let's just say he's winning the division at 9 wins, 10 wins, but he's not winning a playoff game, then I think they will probably evaluate because at some point he's got to prove that he can win in the postseason, in my opinion. But for now, I think he's safe.
I think there's 2 things here that are important about the first of all, it has yet to be written. Like Todd Bowles can put a complete end to the discussion with a win next week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would shut it down completely. But
there's no. And the way they play, I think, matters. If they play terrible football and they're flat, if they throw another Saints turd out there in a playoff situation, then he's gone. There's no question in my mind he's gone. If they win the game, he stays. If it's a tight football game, I think it's a coin flip. I really do. Because I don't think anyone, after 2 years of Todd Bowles, and I can sit here and make a case either way, but I think the one thing you have to ask yourself is going forward with Baker Mayfield, with this team as it's constituted, do you think Todd Bowles elevates this team? Do you think he makes this team better than the sum of its parts? It does, and coaches need to do that. Like, that's your job as a coach. You need to bring them together. You need to elevate your team better than the talent that they are.
I would probably tell you.
Have we seen that? No.
No, I would probably say 6 or 7 years into his tenure, what you saw this year, 9 wins, is probably his ceiling.
Yeah. Right.
So at the end of the day, is Todd Bowles the head coach that's going to win you a Super Bowl? I don't believe that.
No. And if the answer to that is no, then he shouldn't be the head coach.
Yeah, I get that. It's just it's a hard decision to just say, like, okay, thank you for winning 2 divisions in a row. Goodbye.
But again, I mean, that moniker that is going to be thrown out there, all right, it has to have an asterisk. It has. I guess the Saints did finish above 500.
But given
right?
the context of everything I gave you at the beginning of this show, of the situation and the context to it, I don't know if it has to have that big of an asterisk on it.
It's the worst. All right, I've been covering this league for 30 years. It's the worst division I've ever seen. The worst division I've consistently for 2-3 years. These other teams have struggled mightily. Like, the Panthers have been a complete no-show. They are a complete effing disaster. There's only 4 teams in your division, so 3 you got to worry about. One is a complete abject disaster, and that's the Carolina Panthers. The Falcons, you could say, the way they have been coached and managed is a complete abject disaster.
They're just poorly coached.
They're poorly coached, poorly managed, no quarterback. Like, no quarterbacks here, like, in this division. Like, look at the quarterbacks you've dealt with in the last couple of years. Once Drew Brees left, I mean, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, I mean, not great. Not great.
I mean,
and
you can only play,
Derek
but you
Carr,
can only
Jameis
play.
Winston.
You could only play who's on the schedule, though. I mean, listen, they played. They've been playing first year schedules for the last 2 years, and they still found a way.
Yeah. Well, you beat what? The Bucs beat one team with a winning record this year, the Jaguars,
the Packers,
and that's right. The Packers were they. I guess it's 2 ways to look at it: a winning record at the end of the season, or a winning record when you played them. I prefer to look at
the Saints. They played the Saints. The Saints finished with a winning record. They didn't play them with a winning record. I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, they beat a couple quality teams. Yeah, but again, it's it's bittersweet to me. You love the accomplishment and you salute the guys they work their ass off. A lot of them. Not all.
I just think, like, if you're a Bucs fan, especially of the younger generation like me, we went so many years without even seeing playing football.
Absolutely.
I mean, regardless of what it looks like, 4 playoff appearances in a row, 3 division titles in a row, it's worth celebrating.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break. Cory Long is going to join us, and we'll get into all your comments as well. I know you guys got a lot of comments here, so as soon as we're off with Cory, we're going to address these comments. Great stuff in here, so we'll get to all of it. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves, big football fan of the show, and a local guy. The Jeeves Law Group here knows the local landscapes of all the, when you have a local attorney, folks, they deal with all the people in your jurisdiction, the judges and all these folks. They know the other lawyers. They know how a lot of this works. It's a big advantage when it comes to your particular case. So keep that in mind, and also keep in mind that they're here, and you can come visit them in St. Petersburg, and where he has an office, also in Hillsborough where they have an office, and you can talk to the man Scott or one of the attorneys there, and you will get that personal attention you deserve. It's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. Back in 3 with Cory Long. Stay with us. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now, but JP, rates are at 8%. That's true. But I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high sixes. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so, and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. BAMMC.com is the place to go if you want to get your nutrition right, you want to get your testosterone right. Trust me, that's a big deal, folks, and you're probably low on testosterone. Your nutrition and your immune system as well. A lot of stuff going around right now. So, you know, Chris Lugo's got me on a lot of stuff right now to keep I was catching a little bug this weekend. I could feel it, but my body fought it off. Broke the fever.
Everybody's got the flu, all of a sudden this week.
No, and I had it. I mean, you get that chills. You get the chills, right. The body aches, the whole nine. And just got some sleep, and I'm taking bromelain. I'm taking a lot of vitamin D, vitamin C.
I think it's a sign, JP, for the holidays. We shouldn't be around our extended families that we don't see often. I think it's a sign they're giving us illnesses in more ways than one.
Your family watches the show, Nick. They watch their fans of the show.
My mom and my grandma watch the show. That's not my extended family. Okay, wording matters, pal.
No. I agree with you. All right, we got Cory on?
Yes.
We do? Awesome. What's up, Cory Long? How are you, my friend?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're NFC South champions 3 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
Everybody in the comments is giving me crap for being negative. I'm just, first of all, I'm not a Bucs fan.
What's more exciting than going 502 seasons and winning 2 divisional titles? I mean, I don't know if has that ever happened before. No, a team literally goes 500 over the course of 2 seasons and somehow not only not wins one, but 2 division titles during that time.
I bet it's not even close. Like, I bet you'd have to be at least plus. I bet the least margin for winning 2 in a row is got to be at least plus 6 wins. I don't know what the number is. At least.
Yeah, like, no, I mean, we're only what, year 3, I think, into the 17-game schedule. So, I mean, you think before that. I would assume maybe a team could go like 9-7, 10-6. That puts you at plus 5. Maybe 9-7, 9-7 puts you at plus 4. But yeah, I can't think of. I mean, I'd have to really go through the annals and it wouldn't have. And I wouldn't have to go back very long because you got to think there was. I mean, even when you go back to the 14-game schedule, like you had to win. There was a period of time in the NFL where you had if you won less than 10, you were getting ready for the draft.
Exactly.
So So like the idea that you could win with 8, then come back and win with they improved by a game. You got to look at the things from they've improved. They're 1 game better than they were last year, and I mean, as of now, I mean, did Dennis Allen survive Black Monday yet so far?
He's got to be gone. But I know the ownership loves him. They love him.
But the team doesn't like him. The team really hates him. The team's like, we're not going to take a knee here.
Jameis leading a little mini coup on the field to score a touchdown
at the end of the game.
It's like the most Jameis thing ever to do, by the way.
I like Jameis like, he said take a knee. We're going to get our dude in the end zone. Everyone's like, yeah, to hell with Dennis Allen. Cool, let's go.
Jameis forever the locker room politician, right? Is like, hey, we're going to take a vote. Who wants to score? We're going to take show of hands.
Who wants to take a knee? We practiced all week. We get here for a play.
I'm going to get Leeds a 4th quarter touchdown drive on my resume right now.
Exactly. And more. Listen, here's the bottom line. If Tyrone Matthew would have not been high stepping at the 20-yard line, it wouldn't have been an issue. But clearly Honey Badger was in on this too. So.
Can we please, NFL Films? I have got to have the audio of that huddle. I got to have the audio of Jameis. Like the whole thing. I want the whole thing. Hey, y'all, Coach wants us to take a knee.
The beauty of this is like this happened at like what 4:15, and by 5 o'clock, every Saints player had his back. They're like, yes, that's our guy. Jameis wins. That's our dude. I was like, boy. I guess the ownership likes Dennis Allen, but are they really taking a temperature of what that team thinks about him? So that's what
Cory,
I always think.
You always bring up the best stuff. It's so funny. You make me laugh every time you come on, but it's so true. I mean, NFL Films has that audio, and that's just got to be the funniest thing ever.
Well,
they have to.
I even love like the back. You see the back and forth with the reporter in the locker room.
Yes, I did.
And
we should play that.
It's like he's getting pushed by this reporter who's like, poking him pretty good. And he's like, honestly, like, I think if the coach tells you to do something, you should do it. And like, it's like the most respectful, like non-awkward, like confrontation between a reporter and a player that I've ever seen. And of course,
I think both sides handled it very well. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
James was like, most of the time, but we decided this time we weren't going to do that. And, because we don't know if he's going to be back on Monday or not. So it doesn't matter. And we know Arthur Smith ain't coming back, so really, why should he care? That was the last thing we'll see from Arthur. By the way, this is real quick, and this is, if you get the reference, you'll enjoy it. So Arthur Smith goes 7-10 3 years in a row. Someone said his nickname should be Split. And I thought that was just the funniest thing I heard all weekend.
I like that. Yes, the 7th for your bowling fans out there. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and this is your epitaph. The last time you're seen on the field, you're like ripping the other coach for scoring a late touchdown. That wasn't even his fault, by the way. And
he's like, I get it. I'm with you. I hear you. That was totally wrong.
I called for the kneel down, bro. What do you want me to do, James?
What do you want me to do? Like the minute he saw a huddle.
Yard line over here. What do you want me to do? That's the most fair election they've had in Louisiana, by the way, in decades. Yeah.
My favorite is the
vote was 11-0 we're scoring.
Yeah. And Dennis probably looking at Jameis like, what was that? Jameis like, my bad. Just keeps walking. That was a very steaming Willie Beeman moment. It was just kind of like, I'm calling the play, Donald.
Well,
whatever.
Not that anybody cares about my high school career, but this will tell you where I'm on the Jameis thing. So we're boat racing Hollywood Chaminade. This is the South Broward Bulldogs. It's like 30-0. And I'm pissed off because I didn't get to play enough, and my coach told me I was going to be the starting quarterback if I didn't go to spring practice, if I didn't play baseball and go to spring practice, and then screwed me over in the start. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a throw in here today. So we score a late touchdown, and I come on the field to be the holder, right? And I'm like, no. And I told my buddy Hinton Taylor, I said, we're running fire on this, which, when there's a bad snap, you yell fire, fire, and the holder rolls out and throws it to him in the end zone. So I said, yeah, I'm getting a throw in. So I said, even if it's a good snap, I'm calling fire. I'm going to roll out and throw it to you in the flat. So be ready. So we get down on the knee. I take the snap, and I'm yelling, perfect snap, by the way. Fire, fire, fire. And I roll out, and I hit him in the end zone, and we're up like 31-0. So my coach is obviously pissed at me because it looks like he ran a fake. And when he's on 30-0, of course, my dumbass isn't thinking about that. I'm just thinking about me. And so, I'm running to the sideline like I just did something. My coach comes up at the 40-yard line. And back then, you could beat the hell out of your kids in public.
Yeah. Oh,
and he pretty much grabbed my face mask, ripped the helmet off, and started just giving me the business. I'm like, I said, Coach, it was a bad snap. He's like, no, it wasn't.
I mean, the one time you need your long snapper to hook you up and the one time you need your long snapper to hook you up and short hop one, they're going to give you the perfect chest. I should have put him in on I should have put him in on the whole thing, but I couldn't think that quickly. So I'm with you, James. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do your own thing. You just got to do your own thing. Exactly.
Screw the coach.
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. It's Dennis Allen. Who cares? No. Isn't like a real coach?
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's get to brass tacks here, my friend.
All right.
And I know the proper answer is let's see what happens next week because it matters tremendously. But there are a lot of people who say no. 2 division titles. Bowles is back. You extend Baker. I think you do extend Baker, but not. It's got to be a bridge contract. It's not $50 million a year. 3 years, 75. That's you bring Baker back, and he should be happy with that. Bowles, I think the jury's still out. If he wins next week, without question, you bring him back. If he wins a close one, you bring him back. If he loses a close one, I think you go find somebody. And if they lose badly,
he's coming back regardless.
You do.
I think he's coming back regardless. Well, when a close one loses, it's the playoffs. There might all be close ones.
Right.
So
right. No, you win the game.
To me, the score,
without question.
The score margin. Yeah, the score margin doesn't really matter to me. But I just think he'll be back regardless. I don't think. I don't think there's really going to be much of an issue there.
Is that the right move?
I think it's just. I don't know. I generally like Todd Bowles. I generally like Todd Bowles.
I love the guy.
I mean, I'm just curious if, I'm still at this kind of spot where the Bucs kind of are what they are, and I don't know that like we're missing out on greatness with this team or anything. Or at times they look very good. At times they look bad. At times they look kind of in between there. I find that. And I do find that as we were talking about, what happened with the Saints is that this team seems to really want to win for them. They seem to really be excited about like winning for them. And I mean, yesterday that showed. That was not a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination. Baker's got a rib thing. He's got a leg thing. He's playing through that. The defense is, it's the Panthers, so. You should be able to hold them to under 9 points. They're awful, but still shutting out a team in the NFL is hard. There were a couple of they ended up getting like I think there was a formation penalty that took away a touchdown, but otherwise, I thought they did a good job of of winning a road game where I don't think they certainly had struggled. They probably weren't able to really practice at full strength all week.
Right.
And it's late in the season. It was a must win, and they dug it out. So I can appreciate that. I think the team likes. I'm pretty sure. You would know more than I would. I think the front office is not keen on replacing a coach 2 years in, especially if they've gotten to the playoffs both years. Yes, I know the NFC South is a bad conference. We get it. We all know this. There's no way you're going to go 500 and still win the division if it's not a bad division. But you were the best thing. You were the tallest. You were the tallest one in the bunch, and that was you were the tallest one. So you get to go to the playoffs, and can they? They're certainly going to face the most vulnerable team, I think, in the playoffs in terms of a team that's playing at its absolute lowest point. Anybody who thinks Matt Patricia coming in as a coordinator is an improvement has clearly lost all sight of anything.
Yes, exactly.
So
I hope to God that's not the answer. Yeah. Yeah, I think your point, one of the big points to this is if you get rid of Bowles, who you bringing in? Who you bringing in? And if you have a better candidate, if you can get Mike Tomlin, I would do that. I don't want Belichick. If you can get,
no, God, no.
Maybe some of these other young offensive coordinators.
Where are the Bucs in the pecking order too? You have to think about if the Bucs opening came available, where are the Bucs in the pecking order then?
Here's the thing: if you're changing coaches, especially if you're bringing in, say one of the there's a couple of Johnsons out there. There's a Ben, there's a Brian, there's a bunch of Johnsons out there.
Yeah.
Whatever Johnson.
They sure are.
They're probably not going to be down with bringing back in you're probably might want to change the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
They might not be keen on Mike Evans. So it's there's a lot of things I think that go into this. And to me, if you re-sign Baker, you better re-sign Evans because I think I think a lot of Baker's success comes from Mike throwing the ball to Mike Evans. So so I think there's a lot more that has to go into this. It's just and like a guy like Mike Tomlin, if he were somehow made available, you would think he'd be the type of guy that would whatever Mike does seems to work. So you kind of go with it, but. But no, I don't. I think that they're going to be keen on keeping him. I believe that's what's going to happen. I think that happens win or lose. I do think that, I certainly think this is the most interesting playoff game of the weekend for me, just because they played this team before. They didn't look good against it the first time, but that Eagles team that they lost to seems like that was 5 years ago.
This team is bad.
I don't even recognize it.
Sal Pal said on SportsCenter last night that given the circumstances, that's the worst performance he's ever seen in 31 years covering the Eagles. And they've had some bad teams. They've had some bad teams.
Yeah.
So that's how bad they are.
I looked at it. I wondered if, I'm looking at this, I'm sitting did this team, especially the areas where they were strongest at, did they just get old overnight? Did
really
their whole offensive line just get old overnight?
They can't. But he sent me. See, Sal Pal sent me some numbers here. Hurts was blitzed 63% of the time, 12 of 19 dropbacks, only 19 dropbacks Sunday by Wink Martineau. He went 5 of 11 for 41 yards and an interception and a sack on those plays. They have no answer for the blitz. Bolsey is going to exploit that. Yeah. They have no answer. You can't. Yeah. And now you got a team that really can blitz you with Devin White. Devin White, the only thing he does well. You've got a couple of fast linebackers and some really developing pass rushers that can get after Jalen Hurts, who's got a really mangled middle finger. Have you seen that middle finger on his throwing hand?
I saw the middle finger. Yeah, it was rough.
You've seen a lot of middle fingers in your day, I know, but that's what, as have I.
That one was unintentionally staying up for me, so that was.
Yeah, no, I was like, what? This Eagles team is bad.
AJ Brown too. You got a
AJ Brown.
Injury.
Yeah,
and they lost one of their talented safety. I think Sidney Brown got a serious injury.
Sidney Brown's done. I think he's done. I think AJ Brown wasn't particularly serious. They said it was not as bad as they thought. So, but yeah, when I actually saw the A.J. Brown injury in real time, I was like, whenever someone grabs their knee, you're just like, every time it's like, oh, God, 9 months. Like right away, you're like 9 months. So, but it seems like that one might not be that bad. He just, maybe he saw the writing on the wall. It's like, let me just get the hell out of here before I really do get hurt, So.
Not a bad idea. Hey, Cory Long joining us here, Walter Football and NHL.com. Give me a little something on Michigan, Washington tonight. I like the Huskies. I like the underdog. I think Penix and that receiving group and that offensive line are going to score points, and I don't think Michigan can keep up. I see it like a 31-24 game for the Huskies. What do you think?
I love MPJ. Obviously, I'll be pulling for him. There's something about this Michigan team that just seems very they're so. I appreciate the way they go about business, how they've done it all season. They're unshakable. My question is just how quickly can the pressure get there? And the one thing that separates this Michigan team from the other two playoff teams they had is that they send it on defense now. They're not concerned about getting exposed on the back end. If they think they can shake a quarterback, they will. So the thing is just how quickly can the ball get out of Penix's hands? How long he can make some plays off schedule. He can get guys downfield, but I think they're going to have a little bit of a shorter passing tree, at least to start, to back guys off, because they're going to be coming immediately. They're going to be sending pressure on every play. They know this team. The running game that they did have is going to be shuttered at best, so they can actually pin their ears back and go after this quarterback. So that's the thing I look at. Two very good coaches. I mean, Kalen DeBoer just really knows how to win football games. I think he's lost 11 in like 10 seasons of coaching, so he knows how to win football games. And Jim Harbaugh, I mean, you play for a national title, you coach a team to the Super Bowl, you coach a team to a national title, you know what you're doing. So I think it's a tremendous coaching matchup. I'm curious to see how Washington handles Michigan's run game. And if they don't handle it well early, Michigan will hand the ball off 35 times in a row. They have no. And that's kind of why I'm leaning a little bit towards Michigan, because I've always looked at them as a team that they have never been interested in doing anything other than what's necessary to win the football game. And to get that sort of focus out of a college team says a lot. For one thing, you have to have a lot of experience, but everybody seems to be on the same page. It's not you're never worried about you're not worried about the quarterback calling different plays in the huddle. JJ McCarthy, if he has a throw, he's going to throw. If he has a check to a run, if they tell him, we're going to run the counter sweep for the next 17 times, cool, I've got that down too. So it's I'm excited. It feels fresh too. That's the best thing about this game. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels different. We're old enough to where we can remember some pretty damn good Michigan Washington Rose Bowls. Back in the day with those old guys like Tyrone Wheatley and Steve Entman was on that great Washington team in '91, and there've been some fun battles between these two teams over time. The last Pac-12 Big Ten matchup before they become conference brethren. So
true. Yeah.
I'm sure the Big Ten Network is thrilled that either way they get the rights to this sucker. Either way, this is in their library. Yeah, they can claim this one either side.
Yeah, and I think I saw Greg Sankey crying over the weekend about all the messages that he's gotten and all the Twitter stuff. Very insulting to the SEC. Oh, sorry, man.
Oh well.
Apologize for that. Hope you're not.
Well, he can go sleep on a pillow bag full of money. He'll be fine.
Go count your $7 million. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
Hey, any thoughts on the Bolts road trip, especially that loss in Boston the other night? I mean, Cooch is playing his ass off, but boy.
He is, but I think we have to come to terms. It's probably not a playoff team. It's going to be very difficult if they can't get on every road trip they're losing 2 or 3. They're not doing enough at home to make up for the difference. So, there's a couple things I'd be curious to see if they maybe worked in Johansson on a few more starts and kind of let Vasilevsky not, go through these 3-4 starts in a row where he just seems to be losing energy on the back end of them. He's still working through some things, but all in all, they just, but all in all, it's like you got crazy injuries on defense. I don't know what they were trying to prove with this Sergachev thing. I mean, the minute he blocks the shot, I see him as we're coming out of post game. He's on a scooter with his foot in a boot. Like I know that's more than 1 or 2 games. I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I get an idea when someone's going to be out for more than 1 or 2 games, and finally, they put them on L2. I don't get it anymore. But the fact is that they needed a lot of things to go their way. They haven't really gotten a lot of breaks. They haven't gotten any injury breaks. Kucherov's playing at a tremendous level. They haven't really figured out how to get Stamkos going without. It doesn't seem like Cooper wants to move him back to center, which is what I think would get him going offensively at least.
I agree. Yeah, that's probably.
And if you're not going to do those things, it's not going to happen. But they've got the bottom line. If they want to have any chance of making the playoffs, they have to be a lot better at home because the road just has not been a friendly place for them. They're just not. They're not a good road team right now. And
or defense.
That was
terrible.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, enjoy the game tonight. National championship. I think it could be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be a good one too. Yes,
I'll
sir.
Be, betting on Washington in the over, I believe, is where my parlay is tonight. Yeah.
All right.
The Bucs under parlay was nice yesterday too, by the way.
Yeah, well, you saw that under was
never
coming through. Yeah, never in doubt. It's like, well, we know Carolina isn't going to score. I don't know if the Bucs are eager to score more than they have to in this game.
They might not have gotten to 34 points in 3 games. So I thought their under 34 was pretty safe. Yeah. All right, partner.
Say this. I will say this to go, long-time old Buck fans, which probably longer than I've been born, will appreciate the team winning a 9-0 game that mattered. So,
yes, they will. A little reverse of the first NFC Championship game. Absolutely. All right, Corey. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Take care, JP.
Right.
Bye-bye.
You can find him at Cory Long, CoreYLong.
I can't believe you're taking Washington in the points tonight.
Yeah. Why not?
I have a bad feeling about Washington tonight.
Why?
I was doing some research into this game a little bit, and first of all, I picked Michigan to win the national championship, and now that we're the day of, I feel like there's no reason to divert from that, even though it'd be a cooler story for Washington and Penix and all that. Washington would be the biggest outlier this century to win the national championship.
Yeah, because of their recruiting, right?
No, not just recruiting. Their defense. They're 54th in scoring defense. They're 97th in total defense. That would be the worst statistical defense to win a national title since the start of the BCS. That makes them the biggest outlier to win a national championship, in my opinion. I think they were showing their composite recruiting rankings. Yep.
And we haven't had a national championship outside the top 5 or 6, I think, in 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're 13th. They're composite over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not even not really close.
And I was also reminded that Michael Penix, when he was transferring out of Indiana, he was down between Washington and UCF.
Well, Matt Baker wrote a great piece last week in the Times about how many times Florida State, everybody whiffed on Michael Penix. Everybody.
I know UCF tried to get him. They got him on campus for a visit, and he chose Washington, which fair.
Well, and the great Willie Taggart thought he had Emory Jones. So and of course he ends up going to Florida. So Emory Jones blocked him from FSU and Florida. But you would have hoped that you had Michael Penix if you weren't going to get Emory, which nobody thought you were. You could have gone to Michael Penix. That might have changed things for you too. But such is history. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side and get your comments. We got a lot of great comments, so we'll get to those next. We'll hear from Matt Matera is going to join us from Pewter Report 11:15. Greg Auman, 11:45. We'll also hear from we have Bowles and the post game I thought was interesting too with Tristan Wirfs. So we'll do all that when we come back. We're brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Do that insurance checkup, folks. It's the beginning of the year. Let them do all that for your homeowners, your auto. The great charity gives me such great customer service. You will get it as well if you call Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Let them do all the work. You save the money. So 813-877-7799. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here from my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a Get Acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to Synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Gold and Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Gold and Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Obviously, the holidays are over, so it's the after Christmas sale going on at the Golden Diamond Source. Go check them out, 3800 Olmerton Road. Going to get a new spot for them. If you guys want to jump in on the comments section, we're going to go over that right now before we get to Matt Matera. Will be joining us soon. I guess we'll go back to the beginning of all these shenanigans here. People taking me to task for being so negative on the Buccaneers. It's hard.
You came out of the Open just red hot at the team as if they lost 9-0.
Well,
it did have that kind of tone to it. I know you. I know that you keep it.
I'm not. And by the way, I'm not a fan. I'm not a Buccaneers fan. I try to be objective. I did not grow up a Buccaneers fan. I mean, I like it when they win because it's good for business. But you know, I'm not emotionally involved.
Yeah.
So maybe I see it through a little clearer vision, hopefully. James says, I want to be the first to say it was clear Baker was compromised by injury. It's also clear Bucs have zero trust in Trask. Was not happy with the offense until the final 6 minutes at V formation. When it counts, Baker is money. Yeah, there's just nothing good about what you saw offensively, except the end of the game when they salted away, which
it wasn't good. Really good, by the way, going back to the Jacksonville game. Like, after a certain point, they hit a block there, too. It's kind of been going on since then.
Yeah. Thomas says the Brady cap is killing us. Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams have dead cap, but not as much as us. Welcome to the NFC South, says Nathan Elliott. Good morning to you. Division of ugly heart attacks are just waiting to happen. So true. Yeah, it's not pretty. Cody Mock, Nathan also says it got blown up a few times. He did. He's a rookie. He needs a little bit more. He needs a little bit more ass is what he needs.
I think he's going to be a solid player, though.
Yeah, he needs to. He's a strong kid. He's, but he's like, first time I saw him, the thing that kind of bothered me is like he's got narrow hips. Like he's a smaller framed guy, and as opposed to some of these behemoths that are out there. So I don't know how much natural weight he can carry, but I don't think he can play at 302 or 303 or what he is. I think they've got to get bigger in the middle of that line. And that's why I think Bob Hainsey, I don't think he'll be the starting center next year. And I don't think Stinney or Filer is going to be that guy. Absolutely not next year. Yeah, they've got to go find a bigger and better center.
But at the tackle positions, I mean,
they're set.
Goodness, those are the hard ones to find.
Yeah.
I was going to put this comment because this kind of sums up where my thinking is. Greg DeCruz. It was a bad division, but we went with little cap room, a new OC, no running game, a quarterback who was playing for his career, and a linebacker who asked to be traded. And that kind of is what I kind of said. The context matters. And I was thinking about this too, like in regards to the performance. Listen, it's funny how at the beginning of the year we were saying, man, if the Bucs can get to 9 wins, they're probably going to have a shot to win this division, or they're going to win this division. I know for a fact we said this on this show.
Absolutely.
And now it happens.
We predicted it. We predicted it.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. It's funny though. Like that's what people were all saying. Like it was like the best case scenario for the season. It happened, and now we have a lot of people that are just completely not thrilled and whatever.
Well,
and
let me say this.
Interesting because they hit the goal.
Yeah, that's true. And so let me say this, and I think that I maybe did not say this in the first segment. Yes, they did what they were supposed to do, but context matters. How you play, like people always say, well, how many wins does Bowles get to save his job? I said, what's the context? What's the context? Are they winning by large margins? Are they playing crisp football and then playing good teams? Like, tell me how they're winning. It matters to me how your team plays in big games. How do they show up? Are they prepared? Do they get out coached? Are they flat? I mean, to me, context matters. And last week was an abomination. It's an abomination on so many levels. And if not for playing one of the worst football teams I've seen in the NFL, the Panthers this week, you could say you got outplayed. They had it. You were lucky to win the game. So I think context matters. And if you're in the fact that this division is terrible, but you want to say, well, you won 2 divisions in a row. Normally that carries humongous weight because you're 11-5 in the old days.
Yeah.
You were 12, 13 game winners and that, your division. But when you're 8-win and 9, you're literally a 500 team over 2 seasons. It's never been done before because it's so bad. So there has to be context in it. You just can't say, well, if you win 2 divisions, you never get fired. Well, who's ever won 2 divisions with a 500 team 2 years in a row? Nobody. Do you get fired if you go 500 every year? Yeah, that happens all the time in the league.
I mean, I don't know. Mike Tomlin's been doing it for a long time, and we celebrate it. But as I've been telling you, like
he goes 10-7, 9-8, or yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I keep saying it over and over. The way that they were able to grind out, there's something to grinding out victories in the NFL.
I agree.
It's hard to win football games.
I agree.
The Panthers hadn't gotten shut out in 20 years. and they got shut out in back-to-back weeks. Like, it's hard to, like, do that, even though I understand the Panthers are not a good team. It's still hard to win in the NFL, and they just have a way of grinding out victories, and when they really need it most in some of these games, Baker played really well at the end. Or the run game was able to, and the offensive line was able to bully people at the end of the game and put games away, and that's why they are where they are.
Damian Schiller says, ugliest clinch I ever saw, but I'll take it. Yep, absolutely. Well said.
How you should feel, honestly.
Greg says, shout out to my wife for putting up with my Bucs obsession. Now you're leaving Costa Rica to come up here for the playoff game. Come on. TJC says, if you have to leave the end zone to come back in for safety, that's right. I forgot about that. I'm the moron. But you still don't pick it up and run. Just fall on the ball, will you? In the end zone. You just got a gift. Tom says it was a miserable win yesterday. I think that's a good way to put it, Tom. And he also adds, I wanted to draft a killer edge rusher or a third weapon on offense. Jared Verse, Brock Bowers, or a wide receiver in the first round. I'll take any of them.
Away from those two guys.
Yeah, I don't think Brock Bowers or Jared Verse will be available.
Maybe Verse, but Bowers absolutely not.
Maybe. Donald Vesey says, with the amount of cap money we had, that's an outstanding season. Hard to argue with that, my friend. Hard to argue with that.
You've been arguing with it all morning.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is it's a great accomplishment. There's no question about it. But the context matters to me. How they play matters to me. The fact that the division, and you're basing it off again, kind of a false narrative. You won the division twice in a row. Okay, normally that means you're winning 10, 11 games. You didn't in this case. Context matters. So while it's mission accomplished, and that's why this playoff game matters. It matters a lot. How this season is viewed.
I think they're playing with house money going forward. I really do. I want them to win the game, obviously, and I think they'll have a shot. But if they lose the game, I'm not going to be like, oh, season's a failure and this and that. I just feel like the context of the
season's not a failure.
The context of the season and the expectations that many had for the club, I think they've outgrown that, in my opinion, regardless of what happens next Monday.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And that's what I'm saying. The accomplishment is great, but the way they played the last 2 weeks has been awful. All right, so let's welcome in our good friend Matt Matera from the Pewter Report and get his thoughts on this. Good morning, Matty. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm conflicted. I conflicted. I watched the replay this morning, and besides vomiting on most everything Jonathan Vilma says, it's just bad football. It was such a bad football game on both sides that it's just hard for me to celebrate. I celebrate the accomplishment and all the things that they were trying to overcome. They did. So I give them full marks for that. But just the way it's looked the last 2 weeks, it's hard for me to celebrate. That's kind of where I'm at. Where are you?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's very understandable. I kind of look at it in two ways. First, I look big picture, and I think, going back to the beginning of the season and the salary cap situation they were in, only being able to sign Baker and a select small few number of free agents and re-signings with Jamel Dean and Levante David. And the fact that all the national media discredited the Bucs, said that they were going to be competing for the number 1 overall pick. I do think there is something you can take away from that they proved a lot of people wrong. Baker spoke about it after the game about we feel comfortable when we're counted out. So I do think everyone deserves a lot of credit for really overcoming the odds and winning the division again for the third time in a row. You look at the money that the Saints are paying Derek Carr versus what the Bucs paid Baker Mayfield, and you'll take that every single day. Now, looking at the immediate future and yesterday's game and ahead for the Eagles, yeah, I mean, that's as sloppy as a division-clinching game you will get. This is a 2-win Carolina Panthers team that the Bucs have struggled against twice this season when they went up against them. I have major concerns about Baker Mayfield's rib injury because he could not throw the ball down the field at all. And I admire his toughness, his will to win, running for that first down. But Baker, to his detriment, is a gamer. And it's great at times, but in this situation when he's hurt, it hurt the team a lot. They really had no flow at all on offense, especially when they cannot run the ball. So it's no surprise their best drive of the game was Rachaad White ripping off like 2 10-yard runs, a little play action rollout pass to Cade Otton that in the air was 3 yards, and then he took it another 20 yards down the field. I mean, you didn't score a touchdown against a 2-win team in a division clinching game. So I do have my concerns going into this week, but I still do think that winning the division 3 years in a row is commendable for sure.
Let me ask you this, Matt. How many wins did you predict for the Bucs to win this year?
I thought they were going to go what they did last season and 8-9. So I was a little bit off with them going 9-8.
Right. So like the point I've been like making this morning is like most people looked at this roster in the national eye and said up 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, something like that. Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I don't think anybody in Tampa thought that. And I don't think it was being homers necessarily. We just looked at the talent on the roster that was left over and thought that it was better than that. And most of us said 8, 9, 10 at the best. And you probably win the division at that. So that's my thing. It's like we said that all off season. It happened. And now all of a sudden people are not satisfied. And I think it's come down to the performance. But at the end of the day, wins are wins. They're hard to come by. And isn't there something for grinding out victories, which it seems like they were able to do time and time again when they really needed it, especially down the stretch, winning 5 out of 6 when nobody thought they were going to do that at 4-7.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that speaks to the locker room and just that these guys are willing to play for each other and that they had a really bad losing streak and everything could have unfolded and it didn't. They decided to just dig in deeper and they did win 5 of 6. And you're right, Nick, a win is a win is a win at the end of the day. I mean, going into this playoff game against the Eagles, the Bucs have won 5 of 6. The Eagles have lost 5 of 6. Yeah. Which side of the coin would you rather be on right now? And, we'll see as this game progresses on Monday night against the Eagles, because that Bucs team on Sunday, while yes, it's good that they won, that version of the Bucs cannot beat even a bad Eagles team. But there is a version of the Buccaneers that can defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just a matter of will that Buccaneers team show up on Monday? And I think that's why you saw there was that video of Todd Bowles speaking to the team after the game. And then Tristan Wirfs said, hold up, I want to talk. And Tristan Wirfs put on the line. He said, offense, we need to be better. We have to be better. And I think he realizes and the whole team realizes what needs to be done in order to get back to that team that won 4 in a row and was really lighting up the scoreboard.
Totally agree with you, Matt. And that's, to me, it's just a level of aggression on both sides. Now, I think, yesterday you don't want to throw the ball 40 times when it's windy and you don't have to. Right, against a Panthers team, and you don't necessarily want to be chucking it all over the yard, and I get that. So I wasn't expecting them to throw the ball deep, but I see some of the decisions that Baker made, and I know he's hurt. But some of the decisions were not great. Probably should have had 3 picks. Last week it was a lot of the same. Some of the reads that he's making are not correct. So that has me a little bit concerned. His inconsistency. I mean, there's some games he just looks fantastic, and in other games it's god awful. What are your thoughts on how he's played the last few games?
Yeah, that's Baker, right? A lot of good, a lot of bad as well, and the highs and lows. It's kind of like getting Baker at the right time, and that's been the microcosm of his NFL career because obviously he balled out at Oklahoma. I mean, the last 2 weeks. And, I mean, it's no surprise in the NFL, a lot of the times the offense goes as the quarterback goes. Baker has been below average, and he was poor against the Saints even before he had that rib injury. I mean, that rib injury occurred very, very late in the game. So, yeah, he underperformed against the Saints, and then going into this one clearly was hobbled by the rib injury, and I think affected a lot of his throws. Right now, Baker is peaking in the wrong direction. Can he kind of step it up and maybe he gets a little more amped up? And he's a guy that gets amped up. We see him headbutting his teammates on the sideline all the time. Maybe the playoffs helps ignite something for him. But yeah, you can't be happy with how Baker has played on the field. I get it. Everyone loves him off the field. His teammates love playing for him. Tristan Wirfs, I know I keep bringing him up every week. We'll say Baker's a dog, and that's true. But if that dog isn't biting and making plays for the team, it's tough to sit here and be like, oh, wow, yeah, this is great. Baker Mayfield, woohoo, let's sign him to a 5-year deal. I don't think that's the play. I think he can improve, but those ribs, that rib injury really, really concerns me.
I wanted to ask you about Todd Bowles. Did you think that he wrapped it up yesterday? Any talk of him being fired as a head coach, or do you think he has to put a better performance against the Eagles, at least this time, than he did in week 3, when it was clear that the Eagles were just better than them in like every facet. And now you get the Eagles when they're a little bit weak. Does he have to have at least a better performance, you think, to keep his job, or you think he wrapped that up yesterday?
For the job security of Todd Bowles, I look at this game as however it goes, Todd Bowles has to I think if Todd Bowles wins, if Todd Bowles wins, I think his job is safe next season. However, if he loses, although the college football style points has not been good to Florida State, I think for Todd Bowles, he has to lose with style points, if that makes sense. If he loses in a close game, back and forth, neck and neck, I think there is a case to be made that Bowles can come back next season. Hey, continuity, year 2 with Dave Canales. Let's see how much that offense grows. You actually have a salary cap that you can work with in free agency. I can make some tweaks to the defense. That would be my selling point for Bowles. But to your point, I mean, that first game on Monday Night Football against the Eagles, yes, the score said 25-11. They were down 25-3 and scored a garbage time touchdown. It was tied. It was a beatdown. They were tied 3-3 and then allowed 22 unanswered points. If they lose like that, if they get smoked on national TV, all the playoffs are national TV, but on Monday Night Football, the last game of the week, that's the lasting memory of everybody's mind of that wild card week, then I think Todd Bowles can be out the door. So a win automatically gets him next season. And it really depends on how they lose. I know that's like kind of an odd thing to say, but it could make the difference of whether or not Bowles is here next season.
Matty, I agree with you 100%. I think, and it's because of the things that have happened over 2 years. In watching the way this team plays under Todd Bowles, what would you say the identity of this team is? Inconsistent would be the first word that would come up. Flat most of the time. They lack emotions. They're soft in the way they play and the way the team is coached. Game management is god awful in terms of use of timeouts. We've talked about this, challenges, everything. I mean, he just does not elevate the team. As much as I love the dude as a human being, I look at it in 2 years of watching his team, and you can talk about all the things, the challenges that he's had. You know, I'll also say, you know, he's got a lot of good football players on his team, and a lot of seasoned football players, and a few that have even won a Super Bowl. I mean, we could talk about a lot. There's a lot of positives and there's negatives. It's just I watch and observe how this team plays, how it's coached, and I want a coach to elevate my team. I want to say he's making a difference on it, inspiring this team. I can see his game plans are better than the other team. I can see the team shows up and plays hard. It's accountability. I don't see that. I just don't see it. I don't think the Glazers see it, to be quite honest with you, in totality. And I think if you're just, it seems that the people that are Bowles has to stay are, well, he won 2 division titles in a row. Well, that comes with a huge qualification. That would be my thought on it.
Yeah, I mean, you build a really good case as to why Todd Bowles should not be back. And yeah, the division titles kind of have an asterisk because one was at 8-9, the other one was at 9-8. If they were in any other division, they'd be watching the playoff games like all of us are. And
then the narrative would be completely different.
Should it be as cut and dry, you think, Matt, of can you see your team winning a Super Bowl with Todd Bowles as head coach? Like, should it be that cut and dry, you think? Because I think if you polled most of us, we'd probably say no, but should that equal him losing his job just right away?
Well, if you're not going for the Super Bowl, what are you really going for? I mean,
right.
I think that's kind of the dream, and it's been a wild ride for the Bucs. You know, they win that Super Bowl back in the day with Sapp and Brooks and everybody, and then they go on a horrible playoff drought for quite a while, and then
14 years
they tasted some success again. And I keep telling Bucs fans, you got to enjoy the moment when you're in it, because there are a lot of other teams out there, fan bases that are starving for even a little bit of success. Look at the Lions; they're having their first home playoff game.
Your Jets are a perfect example.
The New York Football Jets, the longest drought in playoff drought in sports,
professional sports. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Bowles can win a Super Bowl this year. Now, how much stock put into improvement as a head coach, improvement from hiring this offensive coordinator, and how that part can get better, that's something the Glazers are going to have to decide. But there is already a resume for Bowles of not getting it done with the Jets, and now 2 years as head coach with the Bucs. I'm with you, but this is all results driven. So if he gets to that second round, it's, hey, he won a playoff game. He got to that second round, and a lot of it is a results driven league. And you also have to look on what's on the other side. The grass isn't always greener. I know there's a lot of tantalizing picks of whether it's Todd Monken or Ben Johnson or some of these other guys. Todd Monken it's not like Todd Monken's looking around being like, oh, I only have one head coaching spot. I guess I'll go to the Bucs. Like, Todd Monken is going to have his options this offseason. Atlanta may be one of them for all we know. So you have to balance a lot of things. And at the end of the day, I think if Bowles gets the win, he at least gives himself one more season to prove that he can improve as a head coach. I
agree 100%. Maddie, any other thoughts on the game itself? We talked about Baker's play. Once again, and I know I sound like I'm always beating up on Devin White, but I thought he made one play the entire game and he wasn't blocked on the play. Thought he was terrible. But I love what we saw from Diaby. Again, JTS finally makes a big play. Thank you very much.
Huge play. For that for 3-4 seasons now.
Yeah. So defensively, there was some good stuff out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, you want to talk about the defense, we got to start with Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, just another unreal performance. I mean, the play that he made against the Falcons way back when, the home game against the Falcons, knocked the ball out of the end zone. You only see that like once a season, maybe even once a career. And then it's like, oh my God, he did it again against Carolina. Unbelievable there. Yaya, great job. He's actually going to be on the podcast today, the Pewter Report podcast.
Nice,
so excited to have Yaya on. I thought Devin played okay. It is what it is with Devin at this point. That they're going to move on from him after the season. I just think this Bucs defense is extremely boom or bust. I'm worried about them stopping the run. I don't think they did a good job against Chuba Hubbard yesterday, and the Eagles have a way better running game than the Carolina Panthers do, and multiple runners as well. A lot of different ways that they can slice and dice you. But this defense is boom or bust. They're going to blitz. That's the calling card. When they get pressure, when they get after the quarterback, they create turnovers. And obviously that leads to a lot of success. It helped them win in yesterday's game. When they don't turn the ball over, they're kind of dead to rights. And if they lose the turnover battle or tie it like they did against the Eagles, they don't really have much of a shot. So it's very boom or bust. Will they be able to get after Jalen Hurts? I don't necessarily know. Some players are going to have the game of their career. But that's kind of been the MO of the Bucs defense this year.
I want to talk about the MVP of the game and arguably the MVP of the season, and that's Chase McLaughlin, the kicker, who they got for absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't know how long you've covered the team necessarily, Matt, but I've had to sit through Kyle Brenza, I've had to sit through Patrick Murray, I've had to sit through Chandler Katnazar. I mean, all these kickers that have just come and go, that have broken my heart, almost rendered me to tears in some games. And then I get this guy. I mean, I got Suck Up, by the way, who was stable for 3 years.
Yeah.
But this guy, man, it's like every pressure moment. It's like, I don't even know if he's missed an actual kick. I think he has 2 missed field goals, but I believe they were blocked.
That's right. Yeah, they are both blocked. I call him Money McLaughlin because that's what he's been this year is money. And he kicks it from 57 yards with ease. I was losing my mind during that 2-minute drive at the end of the half. I didn't hate the run call, but Chase Edmonds just going sideways and backwards versus going forwards and losing 3 yards. I'm like, what are you doing? You're setting up your kicker for disaster. And then I go, oh, wait, they got Chase McLaughlin. And then he just nails a 57-yarder like it's no big deal at all. He's one of the MVPs on this team. People used to love Jake Camarda, the punter. Chase McLaughlin's the guy. He's unbelievable. He can hit it from anywhere. And like you said, his kicks have only been blocked. He's been as steady. I mean, it goes Antoine Winfield Jr., Chase McLaughlin in terms of guys you can rely on, steady, consistent, and great this season. And Mike Evans as well.
All right, Maddie, great stuff. Tell us what's coming up on Pewter Report this week. What do you got? You got the Yaya Tiet today at 4? Yeah?
Yeah, very exciting. Yaya Diaby is going to join us on the Pewter Report podcast today at 4 o'clock. We'll have a lot of playoff previews coming up the rest of the week and the latest from the Bucs facility. So follow us on our YouTube channel at Pewter Report and my Twitter account. You can see it on the screen there. So appreciate you guys for having me on. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you, Maddie. Good stuff, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right. See you later.
Join the Natty tonight. All right. We'll take a quick break here, come back on the other side and get to some more of your comments since you guys are lighting up the comments today. We really appreciate that. And say thank you to the Geddes Gordon Group. If you're looking to invest in real estate, now is not a bad time, folks. Rates are coming down. and the inventory is still out there and prices aren't crazy. They're going to go crazy again. Once interest rates come down again, then it's going to be a frenzy again. So go shopping now. If you're in the market for a home or thinking about it, or maybe bite the bullet a little bit, and then you can refi with my man. Listen, we can do American Mortgage Service here as well. Scotty Fitz will take your mortgage and get you the best rate you could possibly get. And Jane Geddes will get you the best property you could probably get. So use them both, the Geddes Gordon Group and American Mortgage Services. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now. But JP, rates are at 8%. That's true. But I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high 6s. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so, and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386-722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. Only just begun.
All right, well, welcome back. If you're heading out to watch the game tonight, Washington, and what is the kickoff time? Like 10:30 tonight?
I think ridiculous. I saw it's actually scheduled for like 8:15 or something like that, but I don't think it's going to kick off at 8:15.
Yeah, it'll probably that's not terrible, but boy, it's going to be a long game, because I think they add an extra break in this game, these playoff games. It just takes forever, and the breaks are like 3.5 minutes long. They say 7:30.
7:30 ain't no shot.
Ain't no shot. It's starting 7:30. Michigan is now a 5.5-point favorite. I love Washington on the money line.
Yeah, I don't know. If Michigan, gets Corum going early and they stick to that, I don't know if Washington's going to have much resistance for it.
Yeah, they can bully Washington in the run game, I think.
Yeah. Whereas this Michigan team, like, it's not exactly the same thing, but like 2 years ago, I know the teams changed a little bit, but they faced a high-flying offense in Ohio State and shut them down. I think Michigan's equipped to, like, stop that, whereas I don't think Washington can really stop a downfield running game like that, especially with Corum. Yeah.
Well, they kind of said that about Texas with their, huge offensive line and running backs, and they tend to handle these teams by just holding the ball and outscoring them and getting frustrated.
They're battle tested. They can play, like I said last week, in a close game. You trust Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Michigan hasn't been in many. So, but they certainly finished well
they
against
did against Bama
Alabama.
and Ohio State. They were in close ones, and they finished those out. So
yeah, they did. They did. Should be good. Should be good tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Head on out to the patio. Great place to watch it tonight. A little cool weather in the air, right? They'll have some great specials going on. So get there early, get your spot, and always a fun place to hang out. That's at the patio, 421 South McDill, for tonight's national championship game. All right. If you see some comments you want to throw up there and talk about, Nick, go right ahead. TJC22 always popping in, says Tua as look like 0-4 with the ball in his hands with the game on the line this season. Yeah, watched some of that last night as he throws an interception to lose the game. I had the Bills on that one.
The Dolphins are so predictable. They are the biggest posers in the NFL, and their reward for losing last night is now they got to play the Chiefs in Kansas City, and it's scheduled to be exactly 0 degrees in that game.
They're so done.
They are so toast.
They're so dumb.
They are so toast.
The Cheetah going back to Kansas City, although Kansas City has not been great, but I think it's a good matchup for them to play.
I feel like everybody,
at
least me with Kansas City, it's like, okay, it's the playoffs. Somebody's got to beat them at the end of the day. I don't think that team's going to be Miami. Here, you can read the comment from Durfmeister here.
Yes, I understand the criticism of the play, but I really need some positives considering where we started in the season. I'm understanding raised expectations of plays. We have a puncher's chance next Monday.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
they do.
No, listen, I don't want to. I'm not crapping on the Bucs. That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying is we have to put it in context of what we're seeing. All right, and I think it's a tremendous accomplishment what they did. And if you're a Bucs fan, my God, enjoy it. How many home playoffs have we had in 40, 45, whatever years, 40 years? Not many. Not many. So, yeah, go to the game, hoop it up, keep the Eagles fans out of the place, and let's bring out a win. Let's go. I'm excited to see a home playoff game.
On Monday night, right? I was a little surprised they got the Monday night game. I was a little surprised by that, but
I think they know it's going to be a close football game. Philadelphia brings a ton of viewers. Tampa's got some fans now through the Brady's years. They've developed a little bit of a national following, I think.
Yeah.
The Baker story is a good one.
Baker's going to be the biggest key because the version of the Bucs that can beat the Eagles is so dependent on Baker and with this injury, and we'll see. I mean, he gets a break by getting the extra day or 2 days in some cases because they could have had it at the Saturday game. It really is going to depend if he can throw the ball down the field and take advantage of this Eagles secondary, which just isn't really good.
No, it's not. They had a lot of busted coverages yesterday, and you want to take advantage of those, but you got to protect your quarterback to do that. So, Philadelphia still has a nice.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, Philadelphia gets the extra day or two to reset and get healthy as well with some of their injuries. So, but they got a puncher's chance. They do have a puncher's chance.
Yes, they do. This is from Kelly Dwight Fields. Baker's quarterback rating was 72 yesterday. Young's was 74.8.
Yeah, well,
it's not all in the numbers, right? Not all in the numbers.
No,
for subpar to terrible quarterback play for $35 million to $60 million a year is insane. What's the tipping point? Even Hurts and Mahomes had a down year. Mahomes is paying the price for not leaving enough for the wide receivers. Yeah, it's true. To me, the winning formula now is to have a quarterback on a somewhat reasonable contract.
Well, I'm here to tell you that $30 million, $35 million might sound like a lot for a quarterback, but
not
in
anymore.
The grand scheme of things, it's not. I think I saw something. There's only like 2 quarterbacks in the NFL not on a rookie deal that are making like less than $35 million. That are starters.
Look at Daniel Jones. If you're considered a second contract guy, you get like $40 million minimum.
Right.
It's weird, but Would they want to go to Tampa, a playoff ready team, or a terrible Commanders or Chargers team? Yeah, you
Talking
keep
about
saying
head
that.
coaching candidates.
Yeah, you keep saying that the Bucs would not get the best candidate. I mean, what are the better jobs? The Chargers? I mean, it is LA, but you got to work for the Spanos.
I didn't necessarily say that they weren't a good destination. I'm just saying that it's all relative to what the coaches think that are out there. I mean, the Commanders look like a disaster, but they have stable ownership now. They have a lot of cap space, and they have a premium pick to go get a quarterback. So the Commanders are more desirable than you think.
That's true. But I still think the Bucs are a desirable franchise, especially now with the Brady. They have
the most stable GM of all these openings. Yeah. That's going to always give you a shot.
Snatch Buckler says Michigan wins, but I'm rooting for Penix. I thought Baker Mayfield is going to consistently be injured if we sign him. Get rid of toilet bowl. You know, it's the way Baker plays. It's kind of that way. All right, let's take a quick break. Greg Auman's going to join us from Fox Sports, covers the NFC South, been covering the Bucs for a long, long time. Love to get his perspective on where we're at, what's coming. So quick break. Greg Auman joining us next. Stay with us. Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now. But JP, rates are at 8%. That's true, but I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high sixes. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386-722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a Get Acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we celebrate a little Victory Monday and trying to put some context into these last two games as the Bucs win back-to-back or three times winners now of the NFC South. And the man that covers that for Fox Sports is our good friend Greg Auman. What's up, Greg? How are you?
How you doing? Well, JP. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to chat with you. I'll just kind of open it up for you as you've watched this division and covered this division. Sorry to say, you should deserve some hazard pay. Do you have to have some context when saying, "Hey, great back-to-back division wins for Todd Bowles and the boys," or is there some context to it? What do you think?
It's one of those where, they're a 500 team, whatever it is, 17 and 17 in the two seasons. But 20 years from now, when you're trying to look up at the rafters and all the division titles, they all look the same in history. Nobody counts how much you won by or what your record was. It's still a division title to have 8 maybe in the team's history. So to do it, it's one of those where even 3 years ago when Brady comes here, they'd never won 2 in a row. So to win 3 in a row, even against light competition these last 2 years, is pretty commendable.
Do you think it's enough to get Todd Bowles back, or does he have to win this playoff game?
No, I think he's fine. It's one of those where, if they lost yesterday and kind of had an awkward collapse in the last 2, I'd probably been a little bit more worried for him. But I mean, you took a roster that, probably had more financial adversity than any in the NFL. Tom Brady retires and you replace him with Baker Mayfield and you get one more win and repeat as division champs while playing a first place schedule. So no, I think unless they really saw something they didn't like, I would think he's back and is fine.
As much credit as we've given Baker Mayfield and obviously Todd Bowles deserves credit for this as well, how much do you think should be passed the way to Jason Licht? Because I mean, at the end of the day, he had to construct this roster and work within kind of the parameters, which weren't really ideal. And he put together a team with the $4 million quarterback, a kicker who's been awesome. They got a bunch of good draft picks out of this. It's just another feather in the cap for Jason Licht and his abilities as a GM.
Yeah, I mean, this could have easily been a take your lumps year, and kind of get things right with the cap, but feel it on the field. So you think about them in free agency. I mean, yes, they were able to bring Jamel Dean back, Levante David back, but like you said, I mean, Baker Mayfield is the high dollar free agent at what'll end up being under $7 million for 1 year. So to do that, to kind of fill the holes they had, to field a team that had 13 rookies on the opening roster and kind of got contributions all over from those guys, you have to think of this as a big win. It got a little close to not being that, when they're 4-7, and even when they're sitting there at 6-0 on yesterday afternoon, or when that looks like a touchdown for DJ Shark, Antoine Winfield, that might be, in terms of plays that change the trajectory of the outcome of the season, that's got to be right up there.
Yeah, and when it was a Brad Shear was running into the end zone and there's a flag down, I'm like, what happened on that play? Was that Shark that didn't cover up the offensive tackle too? I don't know if it was him.
I don't know. I had in my head it was a tight end, but I don't know for sure. That's one of those where it seemed like the flag was out there before he even broke through the line of scrimmage. So I don't know that the defense knew that's what it was. It might have been, they thought it was something else, but that seemed like one of those where there might have been some indifference on defense because they knew a flag was there.
Yeah. Just your thoughts on these last two games in the way that the Bucs played. I mean, obviously the Saints game was flat and outcoached and probably their worst performance given the situation. And even though they won this game, it certainly wasn't pretty. Do you look at these two performances and just say, this is not the way you want to finish going into the playoffs, or just say, screw it, it's 0-0, and here come the Eagles who have lost 5 of 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Tristan Wirfs said in the locker room after the game, and they've got to be a lot better on offense if they want to make it a game. And I mean, I think, you think about doing the same thing you did last year, they didn't do well in the playoff game. They didn't hang with Dallas at all in the wild card round. So I think if you're looking for steps forward and real steps forward, being competitive on Monday night against the Eagles would be a big step in that direction. Obviously, winning takes it to a whole other step. but just making sure that's a game. I mean, that's a defense that's given up 30 points a game in their last 6. They're 1-5, so they're coming in with the exact opposite trajectory the Bucs have. Even though it's a wobbly last couple of weeks, the Bucs have won 5 of 6, and the Eagles have lost 5 of 6. So that, if you think about the two teams and what direction they're in, the Bucs want to keep both of those things going.
I want to ask you a little bit about the rest of the divisions that you cover them as well. And, we already saw Arthur Smith gets canned yesterday, which was expected. Carolina, I think their GM is being let go as well. Obviously, they have a head coaching vacancy. And I guess, to Carolina's point, if Bryce Young had played better, I guess, maybe it's a different reality. But it didn't happen. But if, obviously we're not in the mind of Bryce Young and what he's thinking right now, but he watched the head coach, the GM that drafted him, took a chance. They're both out after 1 year. I mean, this has got to be the most unideal situation for Bryce. And how do you think Carolina tries to fix this?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce lost, 3 games in college as a starter. So, I mean, that you go from that to going 2-15 in the season. That's, I think it was kind of like Jameis had when he came to the NFL, and that you have somebody who's so synonymous with just consistent dominance in college, and then you have to wade through a really, really hard first year. Jameis had his coach fired after a year. And that's a tough transition. I mean, I think the Bucs went out of their way to try and make it easier for Jameis and keeping Cutter and kind of keeping the offense together. Carolina's not going to have that, I don't think.
Right,
so it will be an entirely different support staff around him. It's not just Bryce that went wrong with his team. I mean, every part of this team was disappointing. Their defense had 11 takeaways the entire year. That's 3 less than anybody else in the NFL. 29th in scoring, dead last in offense, tied with the Patriots for dead last in scoring offense. Lots of other people they brought in besides Bryce Young disappointed. Miles Sanders, barely registered yesterday. That's a guy that's a Pro Bowl on a 1,000-yard rusher a year ago, and I don't know if he had 300 yards of offense when he was done. So lots of things that went wrong there. But again, I think fresh start. I certainly think whoever they bring in there is going to be somebody they are bringing in with the intention of getting a development out of Bryce Young that Frank Reich didn't. So that works. I mean, the nice thing about being a number 1 overall pick is that it's a bigger investment than a head coach is. So they've got to bring in somebody with an eye on turning him into who they drafted him to be.
Greg Auman joining us here for Fox Sports, covers the NFC South. Where are the Falcons going in terms of head coach, and what do they do at quarterback? Is Justin Fields in the offing, or they draft one? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how quickly they move what they have in mind. I don't think you move on from Arthur Smith unless you have a good idea of somebody you like. It's not like there was a name recognition factor, but I think just the idea that this is a franchise that's only, I think it's 3 coaches in 16 years since 2008. So again, I think they want to bring in somebody that can do the things he couldn't, that can elevate the team above 7-10, because that's all Arthur Smith was. So I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's, they could go a bunch of different ways. Arthur Smith was an NFL assistant, an up-and-comer. You can go before that. You think about Mike Smith, up-and-comer. They've done that before. It's hard to know. It's like you have somebody like Raheem Morris, who was there, now has, again, a very good head coaching resume. They could go to the college ranks. Everyone's going to talk about Harbaugh. People are going to wonder about Deion Sanders, which would be a complete wild card there, but he has a history with the Falcons. Again, you can drop about 50 names for these head coaching openings right now, and we have no idea what their priorities are.
Right.
It's one of those where I always wonder, you have a tendency when you replace a coach to kind of go in the opposite direction of who you were. So if you had an old defensive guy, you get a young offensive guy. But it's hard if your goal is to bring in a quarterback and a difference maker on offense. It's hard to do that with a defensive coach. I think Houston was kind of able to do that with DeMeco Ryans because Bobby Sloat was there to really develop C.J. Stroud this year. But it's hard to pull that off. If what your goal is to marry this new coach with this new quarterback, you tend to do that with an offensive-minded coach. So there's lots of young assistants coming up. There's 5 or 6 names that are going to get bounced around. I think Atlanta will be one of the better, more enviable openings just because they have a good team. I mean, they've got a young core on offense. They got a top 10 defense. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and keep Ryan Nielsen on defense as the coordinator if they get an offensive coach, because I think he's done a good job. And they kind of have the system in place to work with the personnel that play well in his scheme. So that wouldn't surprise me. But in terms of a name, I don't know what direction they go in. And they kind of have to slow cook this because you can't really have any in-person interviews until I guess it's the 22nd, which is, 2 weeks from now. So there'll be a lot of kind of virtual and name dropping and stuff like that before things get really heavy in 2 weeks here.
Greg Auman joining us. Hey, Greg, one last question. Who's your MVP for the Bucs this year? Who would be your MVP?
MVP for the Bucs. It's a close call on both sides. It's probably Antoine Winfield, I think.
I think so.
You think about what he did yesterday. So many game-changing plays.
Yep.
Did about as much from the safety positions you could. You could do it on offense. Baker certainly kind of filled a void left by Tom Brady, and it's a really hard thing to do with that. So you could go with Baker on offense. You could go with Mike Evans on offense because they both were so great, just in leadership and in leading things. But I think if I had to pick one, I might go with Winfield and just how good he was.
I agree.
Changing plays and leading that defense from the back end.
Hell of a player. Greg Auman, Fox Sports. You can find him on Twitter or X at Greg Auman, GregAuman. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one, JP.
Thanks. As he's off to interrogate Todd Bowles in his Monday press conference coming up here at 12:30. So, interesting day, Mr. Geddes. I'm so glad that the Bucs are in the playoffs. Buck fans enjoy it, celebrate it. I don't care what the sausage, how the hell you made it. It always tastes good, right? When you get to the playoffs.
Absolutely. And if you want to throw every team in Tampa Bay, we're still on top in a way because the Lightning still got some work to do, but the Lightning have made the playoffs in 6 straight years. The Rays 5, and now the Bucs 4. There was a time not too long ago where you were lucky to get one of these teams in. All 3 of them are continuing to do it. So maybe we're not at the Tampa Bay level necessarily, but we've kind of evened out to still a good level. We're making playoff teams here.
No, that's a great point. I didn't even realize that all these teams are making the postseason. If not making hay in the postseason recently, certainly we've had a great run. And we'll see what the Bucs can do. I mean, it's a very beatable Philadelphia team, so let's have some fun with it on Monday night. Sal Palantonio is going to join us on Thursday. John Clark from NBC Philly, probably get him on tomorrow or Wednesday. So we'll have plenty of Philadelphia folks. We'll have John Kincaid on from the Fan up there. So we'll have lots of fun this week leading up to this game. So keep it right here. We thank you guys for joining us. Nick, great job today. Our thanks to Maddie Matera, Cory Long, and, of course, Greg Auman for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We will see you then.